I saw him before he saw me. Luca. Standing under the streetlight like a ghost I thought I'd buried 6 months ago. His jaw was clenched, eyes scanning the crowd with that hungry look I used to mistake for love. My chest tightened. Run. Every instinct screamed it. But my feet wouldn't move fast enough. He turned. Our eyes met. That twisted smile spread across his face. Elena. My name in his mouth felt like a threat. I spun around, heart hammering, and that's when I saw him. The stranger. Tall, sharp suit. Dark hair slicked back with precision. He stood beside a black Maserati, checking his watch like he owned time itself. I didn't think. Couldn't think. I just ran straight to him. My arms wrapped around his torso before my brain could catch up. He went rigid beneath my touch, solid as marble. I pressed my face against his chest, breathing in leather and something darker, something dangerous. "Please," I whispered against the fabric of his suit. "Just play along." For 3 terrible seconds, nothing happened. Then his hand settled on my lower back. Firm. Possessive. The kind of touch that didn't ask permission. "Elena." Luca's voice cut through the night air, sharp with fury. The stranger's body shifted slightly, angling between us. I felt his other hand come up to the back of my head, holding me there like I actually belonged to him. "Problem?" His voice was low, accented. "Italian." Each word wrapped in velvet and edged with steel. "That's my girlfriend," Luca spat. "No." The stranger's tone dropped even lower. "She's not." I felt his muscles coil beneath my palms. Luca must have felt it too because he took a step back. "This isn't over," Luca hissed at me before disappearing into the crowd. The stranger didn't move, didn't release me. Not yet. When he finally did, his hands lingered just a second too long. He tilted my chin up with one finger, and I found myself staring into eyes so dark they looked black in the streetlight. "You shouldn't touch men you don't know, Kara." His thumb brushed my jaw. "Some of us bite." Before I could respond, he stepped into his car and drove away, leaving me shaking on the sidewalk. But not from fear. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt his hand on my back. Smelled that intoxicating mix of cologne and danger. Heard that voice wrapping around the word Kara, like a promise and a warning. Who was he? The next morning, I stood behind the counter at Café Lucia, going through the motions. Pour, smile, repeat. My hands still trembled slightly when I thought about how close Luca had been. "Earth to Elena." Rosa snapped her fingers in front of my face. My best friend studied me with those knowing eyes. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Worse, I saw Luca. Her expression darkened. That piece of... "I'm fine," I interrupted. "Some guy helped me." "Some guy?" I bit my lip, remembering. I kind of hugged a complete stranger. Rosa's eyebrows shot up. "You? Miss, don't even make eye contact on the subway?" I panicked. I wiped down the counter harder than necessary. But Rosa, there was something about him. The way he looked at Luca. I struggled for words. Like he could make him disappear with a snap of his fingers. Sounds dangerous. Everything about him screamed dangerous. "Then forget him," Rosa said firmly. "The last thing you need is another complicated man." But forgetting him was impossible, especially when I walked outside for my break and saw him. Same dark suit, same controlled posture. He leaned against a lamppost across the street, watching the cafe entrance like he'd been waiting. For me. Our eyes locked. Even from this distance I felt pinned in place. He pushed off the lamppost and started walking toward me. Every step was measured, predatory. 2 men in black suits appeared from nowhere, flanking him. My pulse hammered in my throat. He stopped 3 feet away. "You work here." It wasn't a question. "How did you—" "I wanted to make sure you were safe." His eyes scanned my face, searching for something. "Your ex, has he contacted you?" "No, not since." "You." Something flickered in his expression. Satisfaction, maybe. "Good." A black SUV pulled up to the curb. One of his men opened the door. He turned to leave, then paused. "If you need help again," he said quietly, "don't hug strangers. Call me instead." He pressed a card into my palm and was gone before I could respond. I looked down. Thick black cardstock. No name. Just a phone number embossed in gold. 3 days of peace. That's all I got. I was restocking the pastry case when the bell above the door chimed. I glanced up and my stomach dropped. Luca. He walked in like he owned the place, that familiar swagger in his step. His eyes found mine immediately, and that cruel smile twisted his lips. "Hey, babe. Don't call me that." I kept my voice steady even as my hands shook. "You need to leave." Not very friendly service. He leaned against the counter, too close. "I just want to talk." "We have nothing to talk about." His smile vanished. He grabbed my wrist across the counter, fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. "Who was he, Elena? That guy from the other night?" "Let go. You think you can replace me?" His voice dropped to that dangerous whisper I remembered too well. "You think some rich asshole in a suit is going to want damaged goods?" I yanked my arm back, stumbling. The coffee mug in my other hand slipped, shattering against the floor. Ceramic shards scattered everywhere. "Elena!" My manager rushed over, taking in the scene. "What happened?" "Just an accident," I said quickly, but my voice cracked. Luca straightened, adjusting his jacket. "Yeah, an accident. You always were so clumsy, babe." He tossed a $5 bill on the counter. "Keep the change." The moment he left, my knees nearly gave out. Rosa appeared from the back room. "Was that—" "Don't." I couldn't talk about it. Not yet. I need to clean this up. My manager's expression was tight with concern. "Elena, if he comes back." "He won't." I hoped I sounded more confident than I felt. But when I finished my shift and stepped outside, I felt it. That prickling awareness that comes with being watched. I scanned the street. No Luca. Then I saw the black SUV parked across the street. Same one from before. The window rolled down slightly, and through the tinted glass, I caught a glimpse of dark eyes. The stranger. How long had he been watching? The window rolled back up, and the SUV pulled away from the curb, disappearing into traffic. My fingers found the card in my pocket, still there, crumpled but present. Maybe Rosa was wrong. Maybe dangerous was exactly what I needed. The knock came at 7 p.m. I was in my tiny apartment, trying to convince myself that microwaved pasta counted as dinner, when someone rapped on my door. 3 sharp knocks, precise, commanding. I froze. Luca had never been to this place. I'd made sure of that. "Miss Rossi?" A male voice. Deep, but not the one I'd been hearing in my dreams. I crept to the peephole. A man in a dark suit stood there, hands clasped in front of him. Professional, dangerous in that organized way. "Who are you?" "My name is Enzo. I work for someone who wants to ensure you're safe." My heart hammered. "I don't understand." "Please open the door, Miss Rossi. I'm not here to harm you." Something in his tone made me believe him. Or maybe I was just tired of being afraid. I cracked the door open, chain still attached. Enzo was broad-shouldered with a scar along his jawline. His eyes were sharp but not cruel. "Mr. Moretti asked me to deliver this." He held out an envelope. Thick cream paper, sealed with actual wax, like something from another century. I took it with trembling fingers. "He'll send a car at 8 tomorrow evening," Enzo said. "The address is inside." "Wait, I didn't agree to anything." "No," he almost smiled. "But you will." Then he was gone, footsteps echoing down the stairwell. I locked the door and stared at the envelope. My rational brain screamed to throw it away, but my fingers were already breaking the seal. Inside was a card with elegant handwriting. "You should learn who you asked for help. Dinner tomorrow. The choice is yours. But know that your ex is becoming persistent. I can make that problem disappear." Below it was an address. Some restaurant I'd never heard of in a part of the city I'd never been to. And below that, DM. I should have been terrified. Should have called the police. Should have done anything except what I did. I opened my closet and started looking for something to wear. Because Rosa was right about one thing. I did need to stay away from complicated men. But I'd spent my whole life playing it safe, and safe had gotten me Luca. Maybe it was time to see what dangerous felt like. when it came with protection instead of pain. The restaurant didn't have a sign, just a black door with a single gold number. The driver who'd picked me up didn't speak during the entire 20-minute ride. He simply opened my door, gestured toward the entrance, and drove away, leaving me alone on an empty street that screamed money and secrets. I pushed open the door. Inside was nothing like I expected. No crowd, no noise. Just soft piano music and candlelight reflecting off crystal glasses. One table, set for two, and him. He stood when I entered, buttoning his suit jacket in one smooth motion. Tonight he wore all black, making him look like he'd stepped out of shadows and decided to stay. Elena. My name and that accent did things to my pulse I didn't want to analyze. You came. Did I have a choice? His lips curved. Everyone has choices. You're just smart enough to make the right ones. A waiter appeared from nowhere, pulling out my chair. I sat because my legs were shaking. Dante settled across from me, completely at ease while I felt like a rabbit dining with a wolf. You know my name, I said, but I still don't know yours. Dante Moretti. The way he said it made it sound important, like I should recognize it. Should that mean something to me? For your sake? I hope not. Wine appeared. He poured, movements precise. Your ex visited you at work. Not a question, a statement. How did you? I have people watching. For your safety. That's creepy. That's protection. He leaned back, studying me over the rim of his glass. You're in danger, Kara, whether you realize it or not. Luca's just angry. He'll get over it. Men like him don't get over things. They escalate. His voice hardened. Trust me, I know his type. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something dark crossed his face. He silenced it, but not before I saw the screen. The text. Don Moretti, the shipment is ready for your approval. Don. My blood went cold. I'd heard that word before, in movies, in whispered conversations about organized crime. I couldn't finish the sentence. Dante's eyes locked on mine. No denial, no explanation. Now you know, he said quietly. The piano kept playing, the candles kept flickering, but everything had changed. I was having dinner with a mafia boss. I should have left, thrown my napkin down and walked out, but I didn't. Say something, Dante said softly. What do you want me to say? My voice came out steadier than I felt. Thank you for the wine and the mafia confession. His jaw tightened. I didn't ask for you to throw yourself into my arms, Elena. But you did. And now we're both dealing with the consequences. Consequences? You made yourself visible to me, which means you're now visible to my enemies. He set down his glass with controlled precision. And your ex is making inquiries about who I am. Stupid inquiries that will get him killed. My chest constricted. Luca's an idiot, but he's not. He's been asking questions to people who report back to me. Dante's tone was ice. He's angry and desperate. That combination is lethal. For him. The waiter brought food I couldn't taste. My appetite had disappeared the moment I read that text. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you walked into. He leaned forward, candlelight catching the sharp planes of his face. I can protect you from him, permanently. Or you can try to handle it yourself and end up in a hospital. Or worse. By permanently, you mean? I mean he stops being a problem. His eyes held mine. One way or another. The implications hung in the air between us. Heavy. Undeniable. I pushed back from the table. I need air. He didn't argue. Just stood and gestured toward a side door that led to a private courtyard. Outside, the night was cool against my flushed skin. I heard him behind me, his presence like gravity. I'm not asking you to approve of what I do, Dante said quietly. I'm asking you to be smart enough to accept help when it's offered. I turned to face him. And what do you want in return? Something flickered in his expression. Want, raw and honest. Nothing you're not ready to give. We stood there, too close, the space between us charged with everything unspoken. Stay away from your ex, he finally said, stepping back. Men like him end up buried by men like me. He walked me to a waiting car, opened the door himself. "This isn't over," I whispered. "No, Kara." His smile was dark. "It's just beginning." The footsteps started 3 nights later. I was getting ready for bed when I heard them. Heavy, deliberate, right outside my apartment door. My breath caught. I grabbed my phone, finger hovering over Dante's number. The one I'd sworn I wouldn't call. Then I heard the shouting. "Back off!" Luca's voice, high and panicked. "Mr. Moretti sends his regards." A deeper voice. Calm, professional. Sounds of a scuffle, a thud, then running footsteps fading down the stairs. Silence. I pressed myself against the door, heart hammering so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. My phone lit up. Unknown number. "Open the door, Elena." That voice. Even through text I could hear the Italian accent. I unlocked the door with shaking hands. Dante stood there in the hallway, flanked by 2 men I recognized from the restaurant. One of them had blood on his knuckles. Inside, now, Dante's tone left no room for argument. He followed me in, closing the door behind him while his men stayed in the hall. The small space of my apartment felt suffocating with him in it. "You had him followed," I whispered. "I had you protected." He moved to my window, checking the street below with practiced efficiency. "There's a difference. You can't just. Your ex was outside your building for 2 hours tonight." He turned to face me, and something dangerous flickered in his eyes. "With a knife in his pocket, and your work schedule memorized. So yes, Elena, I can just." The room tilted slightly. "He had a knife?" Dante crossed the space between us in 2 strides. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb brushing my cheekbone with unexpected gentleness. "You're safe, that's all that matters." "But for how long?" My voice cracked. "He's never going to stop." "He will." Something in his tone made my blood run cold. One way or another. I pulled back from his touch, wrapping my arms around myself. "I didn't ask for this, any of this." "No." His jaw tightened. "You just threw yourself into my arms and made it my problem. Then let me go. Forget you ever met me." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think it works that way? You're in my world now, Kara. And my enemies don't care whether you ask to be here or not." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Pack a bag. You're not staying here tonight. I'm not going anywhere with you." He looked back at me, and for the first time, I saw something almost vulnerable in his expression. "You shouldn't have involved me, Elena, but you did, and now we both have to live with that." I woke up in a hotel room I didn't remember checking into. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The bed was massive, the sheets Egyptian cotton. Everything screamed expensive. A note sat on the nightstand in that same elegant handwriting. "Breakfast at 9. We need to talk. D." I found him in the suite's dining area, reading a newspaper like we did this every morning. He'd lost the jacket. Just a black shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that shouldn't have been as distracting as they were. "You drugged me," I said flatly. He looked up, almost amused. "You fell asleep in the car. Exhaustion, not drugs." "Where are my clothes?" "Being cleaned. There's a wardrobe in the bedroom. Help yourself." I sat down because my legs were still shaky. "I need to go to work." "You quit." My head snapped up. "Excuse me?" "I called your manager this morning. Gave her a generous severance package on your behalf." He poured coffee like he hadn't just upended my life. "Luca knows where you work. That makes it a liability." "You had no right." "I had every right." His eyes locked on mine. "I saved your life last night. That puts you in my debt." The word hung between us like a noose. "I don't owe you anything. Don't you?" He leaned back, studying me. "My men risked exposure dealing with your ex. My reputation is now tied to your safety. In my world, Elena, that's a debt, one you will repay." My hands clenched into fists. "How?" "You're educated, organized. You have an eye for detail." He slid a folder across the table. "One of my businesses needs an event coordinator. Legitimate work. Good pay. You'll plan parties for people who don't ask questions." I opened the folder. The salary made my stomach flip, more than I'd make in 6 months at the cafe. "And if I refuse?" Then you go back to your apartment, back to your old life, and I stop protecting you." His voice went soft, dangerous. "How long do you think you'd last?" I hated him in that moment. Hated how right he was. Hated that I had no other choice. "Fine." I closed the folder. "But this makes us even. After that, we're done." Something flickered across his face. Not quite a smile. "If that's what you need to believe, Kara." He stood, buttoning his cuffs with precise movements. "Car leaves in an hour. Enzo will take you shopping. You'll need appropriate attire." "For what?" "For working in my world." Dante's villa sat on the edge of the city like a fortress pretending to be a home. Stone walls, manicured gardens, security cameras disguised as decorative lighting. The kind of place where violence wore expensive cologne. Enzo walked me through the main entrance, past marble floors that echoed with each footstep. "Mr. Moretti is in a meeting. Miss Bianca will show you around." "Miss Bianca?" "His sister." I didn't know he had a sister. She appeared at the top of the grand staircase like something from a painting. Mid-20s, dark hair cascading over one shoulder, wearing a silk dress that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. "So you're the one." Her voice was warm, curious. "The girl who hugged my brother." Heat crept up my neck. "It's not what it sounds like." "Isn't it?" She glided down the stairs with practiced grace. "Come, let me give you the tour before Dante traps you in his office all day." The villa was stunning. All dark wood and leather, artwork that belonged in museums, wine cellars that looked ancient. But it was the photos that caught my attention. Family portraits lined one hallway. A younger Dante with softer eyes. A woman who must have been their mother. And another man. Similar features to Dante but with a gentler smile. "My brother Marco," Bianca said quietly, noticing my gaze. "He died 3 years ago. I'm sorry." Dante was never the same after. She traced the frame with one finger. "Marco was the good one, the kind one. Dante was always the protector, but after Marco," she trailed off, "he became the monster he needed to be to keep the rest of us safe." Something twisted in my chest. "Why are you telling me this?" Bianca turned to me, and her eyes were sad. "Because my brother doesn't let people close anymore. Not after what happened to Marco's wife. She died because of our world. Because someone wanted to hurt Dante and used her to do it." My breath caught. "That's why he pushes everyone away?" "Yes." She touched my arm gently. "But he brought you here, Elena. To his home. He doesn't do that, ever." Before I could respond, a door opened down the hall. Dante emerged from what must have been his office, sleeves still rolled up, tension in his shoulders. His eyes found mine across the distance, and something passed between us. Heavy, inevitable. "Elena." My name was a command. "We have work to do." But as I followed him toward that office, I couldn't stop thinking about the dead wife and the broken man who couldn't afford to care about anyone anymore. The party was obscene wealth pretending to be sophistication. I'd spent 3 days planning it, every detail perfect. Crystal chandeliers, imported champagne, a string quartet playing Vivaldi in the corner. Men in $1,000 suits made small talk while their bodyguards lingered near the exits. I was checking the catering when I noticed the hallway. 3 men stood in the shadows near Dante's private study, voices low but urgent. I shouldn't have listened, should have walked away, but I didn't. "The shipment arrives Thursday, Pier 17. After the betrayal in Naples, Don Moretti wants extra security. The Rossi family is still asking questions about Marco." A hand closed around my wrist. I gasped, spinning around. Dante stood behind me, expression unreadable. Without a word, he pulled me away from the hallway and onto the terrace where the party hummed with conversation. "I wasn't," I started. "You were." His voice was soft, dangerous. "Do you know what happens to people who eavesdrop on my business?" My pulse hammered. I didn't hear anything. Liar. But instead of anger, something almost amused flickered in his eyes. "If you're going to spy on me, Elena, at least enjoy the view." Before I could process his words, he pulled me into the crowd. The quartet shifted to a waltz, and suddenly his hand was on my waist, the other capturing mine. We moved together, and God help me, he knew how to lead. You're full of surprises, I breathed. So are you. His thumb traced circles against my back through the silk of my dress. Planning a perfect party while trying to gather intel on my operations. I wasn't gathering intel. Then what were you doing? He spun me, pulling me back against his chest. We moved like we'd done this 1,000 times before. Trying to understand you. Something shifted in his expression. The mask cracked, just slightly. Don't. Why not? Because the more you understand, the harder it becomes to walk away. His lips were close to my ear now. And you should walk away, Kara, while you still can. But his arms tightened around me, and I felt his heartbeat against my palm. Steady, strong, completely at odds with his words. What if I don't want to walk away? I whispered. His jaw clenched. The song ended. He released me so abruptly I almost stumbled. Then you're more foolish than I thought. He disappeared into the crowd, leaving me breathless and aching on the dance floor. I found him on the rooftop terrace an hour later. The party was winding down, guests departing in their expensive cars. But Dante stood alone, hands braced against the railing, staring at the city lights like they held answers. You shouldn't be here, he said without turning around. I shouldn't be a lot of places. I moved closer, but here I am. He finally looked at me, and the exhaustion in his eyes made my chest ache. Go to bed, Elena. Not until you tell me why you keep pushing me away. You know why? Because of Marco's wife? Because you think caring about someone makes you weak? I stepped into his space. Or because you're afraid you might actually feel something? His laugh was bitter. You think you've figured me out after a few weeks? No. I reached up, cupping his jaw. He went rigid under my touch. But I think you're tired of pretending you don't feel anything. Elena. I kissed him, poured every confused emotion into it. Fear, anger, desire, something dangerously close to trust. For one perfect second he froze. Then he kissed me back. His hands came up to frame my face, tilting my head to deepen the kiss. It was nothing like I expected. Not rough or demanding. Almost reverent. Like I was something precious he'd forgotten how to hold. I melted into him, fingers tangling in his hair. He tasted like whiskey and danger and promises he'd never make. Then he pulled away. No. The word came out ragged. He stepped back, putting distance between us. You have no idea what I am, Elena. Then tell me. I've killed people. His voice trembled with restraint. Men who betrayed me. Men who threatened what's mine. I've done things that would make you run screaming. I'm not running. You should be. He turned away, knuckles white against the railing. I can't protect you from myself. Maybe I don't need protection from you. I moved to stand beside him. Maybe I need protection with you. He looked at me then, and the naked want in his eyes nearly stopped my heart. If I let myself have you, he whispered, I won't let you go. Ever. Is that what you want? To belong to a monster? I should have said no. Should have walked away right then. Instead, I reached for his hand. Show me who you really are. Then let me decide. His fingers intertwined with mine, and I knew. Whatever came next, there was no going back. The next morning, I couldn't stay inside anymore. I needed air, space, something that didn't feel like captivity. I wandered through the villa until I found it a hidden garden behind the east wing. Roses, lavender, jasmine, a stone bench beneath a willow tree. The sound of water trickling from a fountain. It was peaceful. Quiet. For the first time since I'd arrived, I could breathe. I sat on the bench, closing my eyes, letting the sun warm my face. You found it. I jumped, eyes flying open. Dante stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, his expression softer than I'd ever seen it. I'm sorry, I stammered. I didn't mean to intrude. You're not. He stepped closer, his gaze sweeping over the garden. My mother designed this place. It's her sanctuary. I relaxed slightly. It's beautiful. He sat beside me, not too close, but close enough that I felt the warmth of him. We sat in silence for a long moment. She hasn't smiled in years, he said quietly. Not really. Not since my father died. I glanced at him. His jaw was tight, his eyes distant. Until the day you brought her home, he continued. She smiled, laughed, talked about you like you were a gift. My throat tightened. I didn't do anything special. You treated her like a person, not a liability, not a target. He turned to me, and for the first time, I saw something raw in his eyes. In my world, that's everything. I didn't know what to say. I don't know how to protect her anymore, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I've tried. God knows I've tried. But the harder I hold on, the more danger I bring to her door. Then let her go, I said softly. He looked at me like I'd just stabbed him. I can't. Why not? Because she's all I have left. His voice cracked, just slightly. And if I lose her, I lose the only part of me that's still human. My chest ached. Before I could stop myself, I reached out and touched his hand. He stared down at it, shocked. You're not a monster, I whispered. His eyes met mine, dark and tormented. You don't know what I've done. I don't need to. For a moment the world narrowed to just us. The garden, the silence, the fragile thread connecting us. Then he pulled his hand away, standing abruptly. You should go inside. And just like that, the walls were back up. It happened so fast. One moment, I was walking back toward the villa. The next, the world exploded. The blast threw me to the ground, my ears ringing, my vision blurred. Smoke billowed from the front gates, flames licking the iron. Shouting, gunfire. Hands grabbed me, dragging me behind a stone wall. Dante. His face was inches from mine, his eyes wild. Stay down, he roared. More gunfire. Men in black swarmed the grounds, returning fire. The villa's security system blared. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Dante pressed me against the wall, his body shielding mine. Don't move, don't make a sound. I nodded, trembling. The gunfire stopped. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. Dante pulled back slightly, his hand cupping my face. Are you hurt? I shook my head. He exhaled, relief flooding his features. Then his expression hardened. This is my fault. I brought you here. I made you a target. What do you mean? They're coming for me, Elena. And anyone I care about becomes collateral damage. Who's they? Everyone. His voice was cold. Rivals, enemies, people who want me dead. My heart shattered. Then why did you bring me here? Because you were already in danger the moment you helped my mother. He gripped my shoulders. Don't you see? They were watching her. And when you brought her home, they started watching you. Tears stung my eyes. So this is all because I was kind? He looked at me like I'd just ripped his heart out. Yes. Later that night, after the flames were extinguished and the bodies removed, Dante came to my room. He stood in the doorway, his suit jacket gone, his shirt stained with soot and blood. You can leave, he said quietly. Matteo will take you anywhere you want to go. A new city, a new country. I'll make sure you're protected. I stared at him. And if I stay? His jaw tightened. Then you stay under my protection, in this villa, until I can guarantee your safety. That's not a choice, that's captivity. It's survival. I stood, crossing the room until I was inches from him. Why do you care? He looked away. Because my mother cares, and I owe you for what you did for her. That's not why. His eyes snapped back to mine. Then why? Because you feel something, I whispered, and it terrifies you. For a moment, he didn't move, didn't breathe. Then he stepped closer, so close I could feel the heat of him. You're right, he murmured. It does. My breath hitched. But that doesn't change what I am, Elena, or what I've done. His voice was rough. I'm not a good man. I'm not your hero. And if you stay, you'll see that. I met his gaze, my heart pounding. I'm staying. Why? For Lucia, I said. But we both knew it was a lie. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, softly, you're a fool. Maybe. He turned to leave, pausing at the door. Get some rest. Tomorrow things get harder. And as he disappeared into the shadows, I realized the truth. I wasn't staying for Lucia. I was staying for him. God help me. 6 hours later, the cell door opened. You're free to go. The officer wouldn't meet my eyes. Charges dropped. Evidence. Discrepancies. I stared at him. What? Someone pulled strings, big strings. He unlocked the door. You're lucky. Now get out before they change their minds. I walked out of the precinct in the same clothes I'd been arrested in, mascara stained and exhausted. The morning sun felt wrong. Too bright. Too normal. The Maserati waited at the curb. Enzo stood beside it, holding the door open. Miss Rossi. I wanted to run, to disappear, but my legs carried me forward anyway, pulled by invisible strings I couldn't cut. Dante sat in the back seat, perfectly composed, like the last 6 hours hadn't happened. The door closed. We pulled into traffic. Silence stretched between us like broken glass. You let them arrest me. My voice was hoarse from crying. Yes. You watched them put me in handcuffs and drive away. Yes. I turned to face him, fury burning through the exhaustion. Why? His jaw tightened. If I didn't let you fall once, you'd never see who's truly on your side. That's cryptic manipulation. Luca planted those drugs. He finally looked at me, and something dangerous flickered in his eyes. With help from the Rossi family, they wanted you in custody, vulnerable, away from my protection. My breath caught. How do you? Because I let it happen. He leaned forward, intensity radiating off him. I knew about the setup, knew they'd arrest you. And I let them because I needed you to see what they're willing to do. You used me as bait? I used you as proof. His hand shot out, gripping my chin. Luca never left, Elena. I paid him off, sent him away, and he came right back. Because the Rossi family offered him more. Money, revenge, a chance to hurt me by hurting you. Tears burned my eyes. I don't understand. Your ex is working with my enemies. His thumb brushed away a tear I didn't realize had fallen. And now we have proof. Now we know exactly who's moving against me. So those 6 hours in a cell were necessary. His voice softened just slightly. And I'm sorry, but I had eyes on you the entire time. You were never in real danger. Felt pretty real to me. He pulled me against him, and I hated how safe I felt in his arms. I know, Bella. I know. Bianca was waiting when we returned to the villa. She stood in the foyer, mascara running, hands trembling. The moment she saw me, something crumbled in her expression. Elena, I'm so sorry. Bianca. Dante's voice was sharp, warning. No. She turned to her brother, tears streaming. She deserves to know the truth. My stomach knotted. Know what? Dante's jaw clenched. Bianca, don't. Dante didn't kill Luca, she blurted out. He's been using him, as bait, for weeks. The world tilted. I looked at Dante. He didn't deny it. Didn't even flinch. You told me he was gone, I whispered. On a plane to Chicago. He was. Dante's voice was carefully controlled. For exactly 3 days. Then he came back. And when he did, I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. What kind of offer? Money, protection, everything he wanted. Dante moved closer, and I stepped back, in exchange for feeding information to the Rossi family. False information, leading them exactly where I want them. My hands shook. You've been using him this whole time. To protect you, to draw out my enemies. While I thought he was out of my life. My voice cracked. While I kissed you, thinking you'd actually let him go because I asked you to, something flashed across his face. Regret, maybe. Elena, you lied to me. The betrayal cut deeper than the arrest had. Made me think you chose me over your nature. That you could be different. I am different. He reached for me. Everything I've done is manipulation. I jerked away from his touch. You manipulated Luca, manipulated the Rossi family, and you manipulated me, to keep you safe. I was safe before I met you. The words exploded out. My life was small and scared, but it was mine. And now I'm a pawn in some mafia war because I made the mistake of hugging a stranger. The silence that followed was devastating. Bianca touched my arm gently. He was trying to protect you. By lying. I looked at Dante, and my heart shattered all over again. I asked you to show me who you really are. Guess you finally did. I walked toward the stairs, toward the room I'd been staying in, toward anything that put distance between us. Elena, his voice stopped me. Where are you going? Away from you. I shouldn't have left the villa, but anger makes you stupid, and hurt makes you reckless. I overheard Enzo on the phone that night. Dante was meeting the Rossi Don at the old shipyard, midnight, using Luca as leverage to negotiate a truce. Or so they thought, but I knew better. This wasn't negotiation. This was Dante walking into danger, using my ex as a human shield. And despite everything, despite the lies and manipulation, I couldn't let Luca die because of me. I slipped out through the garden while Dante was in his study, took one of the spare cars kept in the garage, drove through the city with my heart in my throat. The shipyard was exactly what I expected. Abandoned warehouses, rusted containers, shadows everywhere. I found Luca tied to a chair in the center of an empty warehouse, alone, battered but alive. Elena? His eyes widened when he saw me. What are you? You have to leave. I'm getting you out. I worked at his ropes with shaking fingers. This is insane. You can't trust either of them. It's too late. Fear cracked his voice. They know you're here. Footsteps echoed, multiple sets, surrounding us. Well. A man stepped from the shadows. Older, expensive suit, cold eyes. Don Moretti's little pet came to save the day. My blood turned to ice. She's not part of this, Luca stammered. Let her go. But she made herself part of this. The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. The moment she chose Dante over you. More men appeared. 6, 8, all armed. Don Rossi is going to be very pleased, he continued. Moretti thinks he's so clever, using the ex-boyfriend as bait. But he didn't account for love making people stupid. He gestured, and someone grabbed me. I struggled, but hands like iron held me in place. When Dante comes for his meeting, the man said softly, he's going to find his weakness tied up and waiting, and then we're going to show him what happens when you cross our family. Luca was crying now. I'm sorry, Elena. I'm so sorry. They offered me money, and I just wanted to hurt him. Enough, the man backhanded him. We wait for Moretti, and then we end this. The warehouse door slammed shut, locked from the outside. And all I could think was, Dante was right. I should have stayed away. The first gunshot shattered the silence. Then chaos erupted. The warehouse doors exploded inward. Men in black tactical gear poured through, weapons raised. I recognized Enzo, Matteo, Dante's men, and then him. Dante strode through the smoke like an avenging angel, gun raised, expression colder than death itself. Down! Someone screamed. I threw myself behind a metal crate, hands over my ears as gunfire exploded around me. The sound was deafening, bullets ricocheting off metal, shattering glass, tearing through wood. Through the chaos, I saw Luca, still tied to the chair, caught in the crossfire. Luca! I screamed. Dante's head snapped toward me. Our eyes met across the warehouse. Terror flashed across his face, raw, unguarded fear. Then, he ran. Not toward safety, toward me. More gunfire. Dante went down. My heart stopped. No! The scream tore from my throat. But he was up again, limping now, blood spreading across his shoulder. He kept coming, kept fighting his way through the chaos until he reached me. You foolish, reckless. He shoved me further behind the crates, his body covering mine. What were you thinking? I was thinking I couldn't let someone die because of me. Another spray of bullets. Dante jerked, and I felt the impact through his body. Dante! I clutched at him, feeling warm blood seeping through his shirt. Oh God. I'm fine. His voice was tight with pain. Stay down. He turned, firing 3 precise shots. Men dropped. The Rossi lieutenant who'd captured me stumbled back, clutching his chest. Enzo appeared, dragging Luca. We need to move, now. Dante hauled me up. We ran through the warehouse, his arm around my waist, leaving a trail of blood. Behind us, I heard the Rossi men regrouping, shouting, giving chase. We burst through a side door into the night. Vehicles waited, engines running. Get her out! Dante shoved me toward Enzo. take her home. I'm not leaving you. You already did." His eyes met mine, and despite the blood and chaos, he smiled faintly. "You shouldn't have come, Bella, but thank you for being predictably reckless." Then he pushed me into the car. As we sped away, I looked back. Dante stood in the warehouse doorway, bloodied but standing. Still fighting, still protecting me, even after I'd walked away. They brought him home 3 hours later. I'd been pacing the villa's medical wing, where Bianca held my hand and pretended not to be terrified. When the doors burst open and Enzo carried Dante through, my knees nearly gave out. "He's alive," Enzo said quickly, "but he needs surgery." A doctor was already waiting. Dante's personal physician, apparently, because men like him don't go to hospitals. Too many questions. I watched them cut away his blood-soaked shirt. 2 bullet wounds, shoulder and side, both through and through, the doctor said. "Lucky," he called it. I called it sacrifice. Hours passed. Bianca fell asleep on my shoulder. Enzo stood guard at the door, and I sat beside Dante's bed, watching him breathe. When his eyes finally opened, dawn was breaking through the windows. "Elena." His voice was rough, weak, nothing like the commanding tone I'd grown used to. "I'm here." I took his hand. "I'm so sorry." "Don't." He squeezed my fingers. "You have nothing to apologize for. You almost died because of me. I almost died protecting what's mine." His eyes focused on my face. "There's a difference." Tears spilled over. "You lied to me, used me, and I still," my voice broke, "I still couldn't let you walk into danger alone." Something shifted in his expression, softened. "I told myself I don't feel," he admitted, each word an effort. "That Marco's death killed that part of me, that I could keep you close and stay detached. Dante. But when you hugged me that night," he continued, "when you threw yourself into my arms like I was salvation instead of damnation, everything changed." However, his thumb traced circles on my palm. "I fell for you the moment you trembled against my chest, and every moment since has been me trying to deny it." The tears came harder. "You should have told me. Would you have believed me?" He smiled faintly. "Would you have trusted that a man like me could love someone like you?" Love. The word hung in the air between us. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "They're coming for you," I whispered. "Let them." He pulled me down, pressed his forehead to mine. "I have what I need right here." Outside, blue and red lights flashed against the windows. But inside, in that quiet moment, the monster held my hand like I was something precious. And I finally understood what Bianca meant. 3 weeks of hiding felt like 3 years. The police never made it past the gates. Dante's lawyers handled everything. Self-defense, protecting his property, the kind of explanations that only work when you have power and money. But the Mafia Council wasn't as forgiving. I heard them through the walls of Dante's study. Raised voices, accusations. "Weakness," someone spat. "You compromised us for a woman." I shouldn't have been there. Dante had forbidden me from coming to the villa. "Too dangerous," he'd said. "Too many people watching." But 3 weeks without seeing him had become unbearable. So I snuck in through the garden entrance Bianca showed me, made my way to his private wing, found him alone on his terrace, staring at the city lights. The bandages were gone, but I could see the pink scars where bullets had torn through him. "You shouldn't be here." His voice was rough, tired. But when he turned, his eyes softened in that way they only did for me. "Elena." I crossed the space between us, wrapping my arms around him, carefully, gently, mindful of his healing wounds. He held me like I was air and he'd been drowning. "They want you to give me up," I whispered against his chest. His arms tightened. "Yes." "What did you tell them?" "That they can try to take you from me." His lips brushed my temple. "And I'll bury every single one of them." I pulled back to look at him. The exhaustion in his face broke my heart. "You're going to lose everything because of me." I already lost everything once. His thumb traced my cheekbone. "When Marco died, when I let myself become this. But you," he paused, searching for words. You made me remember what it feels like to want something beyond revenge. Beyond power. Dante. He kissed me then. Slow. Deep. Like we had all the time in the world instead of borrowed moments. I love you, he murmured against my lips. And that terrifies me more than any enemy ever could. Behind us, a door opened. Enzo's urgent voice. Boss, the council called an emergency meeting. Tomorrow. Dante's expression hardened. Then tomorrow we end this. The meeting lasted 4 hours. I waited in Bianca's room, pacing until my feet hurt. She tried to distract me with wine and reassurances, but we both knew what was happening. They were making him choose. When Dante finally appeared in the doorway, something in his expression made my chest tighten. Walk with me, he said quietly. The garden was peaceful, moonlight casting shadows through the trees, too beautiful for what I felt coming. I'm stepping down, he said without preamble, transferring control of the legitimate businesses to Bianca, the rest. He paused. The rest goes to my second. My heart stopped. What? It's the only way to keep you safe. He wouldn't look at me. As long as I'm Don Moretti, you're a target, a weakness they can exploit. So you're just giving up everything? No. He finally met my eyes. I'm choosing what matters. Tears burned. And then what? We live happily ever after, while your enemies hunt you down? I'll disappear. New identity. New life. His jaw tightened. Somewhere they'll never find me. Without me. Silence stretched between us. It's better this way, he said, but his voice cracked slightly. You go back to your life. Safe. Free. Everything you wanted before that night. That's not what I want anymore. Elena. No. I stepped closer, gripping his jacket. You don't get to decide this alone. You don't get to sacrifice yourself and call it love. I'm trying to protect you. By leaving me? My voice broke. After everything? After I risked my life to save you? After you took bullets for me? His hands came up to frame my face. Don't you understand? If something happens to you because of me, I won't survive it. Not again. I can't. He pressed his forehead to mine. I can't lose someone else I love. Then don't. I held his wrists, keeping him close. Don't walk away. Don't disappear. If you're starting over, let me start over with you. You deserve better than a life in hiding. I deserve a choice. I pulled back to look him in the eyes. And I choose you, monster, ex-mafia boss, and all. For a moment, hope flickered across his face. Then something darker. Fear. There's something I need to tell you first. Your father. The words came out heavy. Final. Michael Rossi. My blood went cold. What about him? He was part of our organization, 20 years ago. Dante's hands dropped from my face. He handled our financial operations in the Northeast, until we discovered he was stealing millions, planning to testify against us. The world tilted. My father disappeared when I was 4, because we were ordered to kill him. Dante's voice was barely above a whisper. The council's decision, treason meant death, for him and anyone who might know what he knew. My legs gave out. I sank onto a stone bench. Anyone who might know. His family. Dante crouched in front of me. The order included you, your mother, anyone who could be leveraged against us. I couldn't breathe. You knew. This whole time, you knew who I was. Not at first. His eyes were anguished. I learned your full name the morning after we met. Ran a background check because you'd become important. And when I saw your father's name, I realized what you were. The daughter of a traitor. I was supposed to eliminate the loose end. His hands trembled as he reached for mine. That night at the restaurant, when I invited you to dinner, I'd already been given the order. Make it look like an accident. Clean. Quiet. Horror crashed over me. But you didn't. I couldn't. His voice broke. Because when you hugged me that first night, when you looked at me with those eyes full of fear and hope, something inside me fractured. For the first time in years, I felt human again. Tears streamed down my face. So you defied them. I told the council you were no threat. That your father died years ago without telling you anything. that killing an innocent woman would bring unnecessary attention. He squeezed my hands. They accepted it. For a while. And now? Now they know I was protecting you, that you're not just a loose end anymore. You're the reason I'm compromised, which makes you a threat they can't ignore. My stomach dropped. We're both targets now. Yes. He stood, pulling me up with him. Which is why we run. Tonight. We left before dawn. 1 bag each. Fake passports Dante had prepared years ago. Cash that couldn't be traced. We moved through the sleeping villa like ghosts, leaving behind a life neither of us could keep. Bianca met us at the car. She pressed something into my hand, a small gold locket. Our mothers, she whispered. He'll need something to remember where he came from. Dante pulled his sister into a fierce embrace. Take care of the family. I always do. She smiled through tears. Now go. Be happy. For once in your life, just be happy. We drove north. Toward the border. Toward somewhere that didn't know our names or our sins. In the passenger seat, I watched Dante's profile in the dashboard lights. Strong jaw set with determination. Dark eyes checking mirrors constantly. Still protecting. Always protecting. When you hugged me, he said quietly, breaking the silence. I chose you over my world. Over everything I'd built. Everything I'd become. You barely knew me. I knew enough. His hand found mine across the console. I knew you were running from something. I knew you were scared but still brave enough to take the risk. And I knew, he paused. I knew that if I let you walk away, I'd regret it for the rest of my life. My throat tightened. You could have just killed me. Followed orders. Stayed Don Moretti, and spent the rest of my life wondering what you would have become, what we could have been. He lifted my hand to his lips. Some orders are meant to be defied, Elena. Especially when following them means killing your soul. Dawn broke over the horizon, pink and gold bleeding across the sky. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere quiet. Coastal. Where the past can't reach us. He glanced at me, something soft in his expression. There's a vineyard. Remote. Been in my family for generations. No one knows about it except Bianca. A fresh start. With you. He squeezed my hand. If you'll have me. I leaned across the console, kissed his cheek. Try to get rid of me. For the first time in weeks, he smiled. Really smiled. We drove toward our future. Together. We almost made it. The vineyard was exactly as Dante described. Rolling hills, ancient grapevines, a stone cottage overlooking the ocean. Peace we didn't deserve but desperately needed. We had 3 days. 3 days of waking up without fear. Of cooking simple meals and drinking wine on the terrace. Of Dante smiling in ways I'd never seen before. Soft, unguarded, free. Then I saw the car. Black sedan, tinted windows, crawling up the long driveway like a predator. Dante. My voice came out strangled. He was beside me instantly, tension coiling through him. Inside, now, but it was too late. Don Rossi stepped from the car, older than I remembered from the warehouse. Flanked by 3 armed men, he'd found us. Moretti. His voice carried across the vineyard. Did you really think you could just disappear? Dante pushed me behind him. Leave. This is between us. No. The Don smiled coldly. This is about respect. About what happens when someone betrays the council. When someone chooses a traitor's daughter over his family. She had nothing to do with her father's crimes. But she has everything to do with yours. He gestured, and his men raised their weapons. You chose her over us. Now you both pay the price. Time slowed. Dante's hand moved to the gun at his back. But 3 against 1. He'd never make it. So I did the only thing I could think of. I ran. Not away from the Don. Toward him. Wait, I screamed. It's me you want, right? The loose end? Just let him go. Dante's roar of fury. Elena, no. Everything happened at once. The Don's man turning toward me. Dante's gun firing. The sound of bullets tearing through the afternoon air. I felt Dante slam into me, taking me down, covering me with his body as gunfire erupted. The wet heat of blood. His blood. Again. When the shooting stopped, 2 of the Don's men were down. The 3rd fled. and Don Rossi lay on the ground, Dante's bullet through his chest. But Dante was bleeding. So much blood. No, no, no. I pressed my hands to his side. Stay with me. Worth it, he gasped. You're worth everything. The coastal town doesn't have a name worth remembering. That's why we chose it. 6 months since that day. 6 months since I held Dante while he bled on the vineyard soil, screaming for help that almost came too late. But it came. Bianca's people. A doctor who didn't ask questions. Days of waiting. Of praying to gods I didn't believe in. And somehow, miraculously, he survived. Now we live quietly. He goes by Marco, his brother's name, carried like a promise. I'm Sophie. We grow grapes and make wine that locals say tastes like redemption. The scars remain, his physical reminders across his torso. Mine, invisible but just as real. Sometimes I wake from nightmares of gunfire and blood. He holds me until the shaking stops. We don't talk about the past. About Don Moretti or Elena Rossi or the night that started everything. Those people died in that vineyard. We're different now. Quieter. Softer. But no less in love. This morning, I watched him work among the vines, shirt off in the Mediterranean Sunday. He caught me staring and smiled, that rare, genuine smile that still makes my heart stutter. What are you thinking about? He called. That night, I admitted, when I hugged a stranger to escape my past. He walked toward me, that predatory grace still present despite everything. Regret it? I thought about the fear, the violence, the constant danger, the price we both paid for choosing each other. Not for a second. He pulled me close, kissed me like we had forever. Maybe we did. Maybe this was what forever looked like. Not perfect, not safe, just ours. I close this journal now. Our story isn't the fairy tale I once dreamed of. It's darker, more complicated, written in blood and sacrifice. But it's ours. I hugged a stranger to escape my past, and I found the one man who would burn the world to keep me safe.